We got the story. Just real quick, hold that thought, Ian.
Yeah.
T-Mobile phones will connect to Starlink for free starting next year. And this is from August. You see, all we had to do was Google it. We're behind the times on this one.
Yeah.
They're going to set up, what's going to happen is you're going to be able to call Mars when people start habitating Mars, and it'll take 2 hours to get your voice message over there. And then they're going to realize sympathetic vibration, and they're going to put crystals in the satellites, and it'll create like an entanglement system, not quite entanglement, but where they create sympathetic vibration between nodes, and you'll have instantaneous communication.
Is Elon, does he have a bigger master plan behind all of this?
How much did he pay for buying X.com?
He's had it since the 90s.
Exactly.
Well, I think he had to buy it back, right?
Yeah.
Oh, is that what it was?
He had to buy it back.
Yeah, and he spent like a record amount of money on that.
I saw Elon
XCOM. I wonder if he played XCOM.
Yeah. I saw him. He tweeted, "Cancel culture must be canceled," or something like that, right? And I'm like, he does say a whole lot of things that come off as like overly generic. You know, he's pandering to the free speech crowd. Look, man, he's getting a lot of people to cheer for what he's building. So keep an eye out, man.
I'm concerned he's in an echo chamber. I've been thinking that lately. Like, people will tweet at whatever he's going through. They'll tweet it at him, and he'll respond to that.
What if
I get it? That's what he's going through.
What if it's a psyop within a psyop, a false flag within a false flag, setting up the media to attack him so he looks favorable? Because after the last two presidential elections, we learned when the corporate media attacks you, especially with the rise of Donald Trump, they kind of prop you up. So what if this is all kind of planned and engineered? This is where my conspiratorial mind is going to right now, that we'll end up with our brain chips on the X app, essentially having a life that's controlled with satellites watching our every single move as we are living under, the Tesla production facility of robotic pods and bugs provided for us to eat. As of course, Elon Musk is also, he's also big on global warming. He's also big on world government as well. So those are things that I would just be extremely skeptical of. And this is why, again, what Elon Musk is doing is commendable, but there's a small part of me that's skeptical.
It's the risk we take as humans, and with our current structure, we'll give one guy so much power to create an empire, and then hope that he doesn't turn on us as humans. And over time, you see people turn on people. Like, they get bought out, they get bribed, or they die and someone else takes over the empire. So we're in a risky place with Elon with so much power. Hopefully it will evolve into a system instead of a guy's toy.
I think the only the good thing about having the richest guy in the world do this, though, is that he can't really be bought, because at this point, money is kind of meaningless. And he even said that he doesn't want to buy Twitter to make money because, well, number one, honestly, once you get to whatever billion he's at, what is another billion? What is another 3 billion? He's taking initial losses on this, but he wants to turn the company profitable. And actually, the terms for X.com were not disclosed, but he bought it back from PayPal in 2017. But yeah, so what's another couple billion to him? So that's the only reason that I think he's doing it in good faith is what does he need more money for, honestly?
I also want to point out this TechCrunch article. They say at first the service will only enable text messages and possibly messaging apps.
Yeah.
And Twitter.
Yeah.
Exactly, Twitter. So people will be able to engage in the conversation from the middle of the Mojave Desert or who knows where else.
Burning Man.
From Burning Man.
They'll be tweeting all the Burning Man photos and
Well,
videos.
you can't do the photos. Just texts. But
highlighting.
You'll be able to send
Ian
enough
Crossland's
information.
here. Can't believe I found him at this dome with the crystals. You can't believe where he put them.
I wonder if the free speech stuff from Elon is just to rally people to support him. He was talking about how a bunch of Democrats all came out at once, started attacking him. And I'm willing to bet that he immediately was like, okay, I need some allies. So, I want to do my thing. I want to build this stuff. Okay, free speech. We want Twitter anyway. Let's start unbanning people and make this the talk of the town. I don't know though. Maybe it's out of the kindness of his heart, the good, the strong morals he has that he wants to stand by free speech. And then you read these stories from back in August. You think about the stuff that he's intended to build. People have already mentioned months ago, I think a year ago, that Twitter would be great for interplanetary communication because you put out a message and it's available to be seen by anyone, anywhere, as opposed to I'm going to message you and then it's going to come to just you.
Yes.
You can put out a message, it goes to the ether, everyone can see it when they're available to see it.
Mm-hmm. I think that's
Or he's just just having a good time.
And there's
Making memes.
also, I mean, there's also a lot of data and a lot of information that you could get on the general public through Twitter. You could see, I mean, there's a reason intelligence agencies launch campaigns for civil unrest in foreign countries on social media and use it as their main kind of rallying call and organizing call. There's a reason Apple just got rid of Bluetooth connection and the ability to airdrop messages in China a few days ago, because they understand with the Chinese government controlling the cell phone connectivity there, with them controlling the internet there, the one thing that they don't control is Bluetooth to Bluetooth peer-to-peer communication. Apple got rid of that.
They blocked airdropping?
Yeah,
Yes,
airdrop
on behest of the Chinese government, because this was the main tool that the Chinese government, that the Chinese protesters that were calling for more freedom were using in order to communicate with each other without being punished.
So they got Apple.
So now the Chinese police were literally going around from person to person checking their cell phones in the subway as they were walking down the street in order to stop them from sharing any kind of information.
Let me show you guys this ridiculous video right here.
Nice.
Look at this strapping young lad from 10 years ago.
Is that Elliot Page right there?
Is that sweat?
No, that's me standing for some reason in a forest wearing a very tight shirt, I guess.
Looking good.
And I was doing a report on this new patent that came out. This is 10 years ago. YouTube it was on the front page. It was on like World Star Hip Hop.
YouTube's old now.
Basically, and I made this like little animation breaking down how it works. And they were patenting this technology that they could go into their maps, isolate a certain area on the map, geofencing, and then if you entered that portion, your phone would be disabled. And they were like, oh, think about it. You enter a movie theater, your camera doesn't work. And everyone was like, yeah. Or you're at a protest and you can't film the cops anymore. Or you're in China and you're communicating via Bluetooth and they turn it off. That's crazy to hear that they're doing it. And there were like, a lot of people said, Tim, they never did this. You're wrong. It's like, okay, man, it's probably not the same exact thing. But it's creepy that it's so similar.
I'm not a big fan of Apple as a company. I never have been. In the 90s, I thought they were proprietary. You couldn't game on their systems. You had to get your own unique power supply, all these unique pieces and parts, and then it was way overpriced. Steve Jobs, brilliant, I don't know, prophet, you could call him, I guess. He has great, and they have great design, but I do not like the way that they organize their company. I don't like that they're siding with the Chinese government over the people that are trying to protest being free of being locked in their homes, but Apple's going to side with the people locking them in their homes.
Meanwhile, they made a huge statement about George Floyd and all the freedoms that they're fighting for here in the United States. Meanwhile, what are they doing in China with the protests essentially starting at the Foxconn factory facility where the Chinese people are forced to make iPhones, forced to make Apple products.
And
so
I believe some people, this is what really kicked off these Chinese protests, which we probably should talk even more about, is that people were locked in their homes for COVID and the building caught fire and like 20 people burned to death.
Yeah,
that's one story out of many horrific horror stories of insanity happening in that country.
There's videos of them welding doors shut again.
Yep.
Yeah. There's videos of like them torturing and beating someone up at their own home with their children watching because they criticized the COVID lockdown policies online. Yeah. There's so much insanity. There's so many cruel, just absolutely insane videos. They were walking around with sticks, beating up and killing dogs because they thought that they were spreading diseases. This is the policy that Klaus Schwab said is the example for the world to follow. This is the policy that Bill Gates said that this is what we need to implement here. This is what Dr. Fauci knew was happening, saw the report, saw the investigations, and said we need to implement this here in the United States. Mm-hmm. And they almost did. And we were very lucky that we have something called the First and Second Amendment. And I think that's the only thing that stood in the way of total tyranny taking over all of the United States, which I think we were very close to achieving.
You're talking about the zero COVID policy?
Yes.
Look at Europe. I mean, they locked down. They were much more harsh. Australia, absolutely.
New Zealand.
I mean, as well. You know what, man? Who I feel bad for is Claire Lehman. You guys know Claire, right?
Yeah.
Poor
Quillette.
lady.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, poor lady. Quillette was this, intellectual dark web, free speech. And then Australia announces they're, going to set up camps where they can take people against their will to detain them because of COVID. Call it whatever you want. And people were trying to escape these places because people couldn't leave their cubicles. Mm-hmm. And Claire Lehman of Quillette, this was like, free speech, intellectual thought, all of a sudden is just like, this is okay. Lockdowns are good. And I imagine the reason is she's in the system. She is within the walls of the machine that is doing this to people. And if she speaks up, she gets thrown in, huh?
Right. Yep.
Or she gets taken down, or they come after her. And she showed that she was terrified of the machine around her. Either that, or she completely betrayed all of the principles she espoused before. But either way, she's fake.
And they were literally copying and pasting the same policies that they were testing and implementing in China. In China, they're still building 90,000 quarantine facilities 90,000 individual booths, pods for people to live in major cities all throughout China. So again, these are camps that people are thrown in many times, not even for testing positive, many times for being around someone that was maybe sick, and other times for criticizing the government. People just get thrown in these pods. As we saw in Australia, people were thrown in there without any tests, without any close contacts. They were just arguing with police officers. The police officers had enough, saying, no, 2-week quarantine, you're done. Absolutely insane policies.
That's what happens when you give people power too. It's like if they can do that for COVID or for medical reasons, why can't they do that for disagreement? Right. And who's to say, like, for evidence? Like there is no evidence. There's no one to prove that they do or do not have COVID for. So yeah, and in America, I think it didn't get to that point, but like obviously like vaccine cards, and then we didn't have like the vaccine mandate for planes necessarily, but like Fauci went on TV saying, yeah, we're not ruling anything out. Like,
They tried.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
And then I think they saw the American people resist, and it didn't work. Because they had the Excelsior app in New York?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
QR codes. American people were like, nope.
Yeah.
And then we have big open rural spaces. So out here in West Virginia, there was basically nothing. You can call it whatever you want.
They're trying to create some RFID real driver's license.
Yeah.
What's that? That's supposed to come
The
out.
real
next-
ID?
Real-
That's been out for a while.
I have one.
Is there
It's
some
in like
upgrade?
certain states.
Is there some upgrade coming out this year in the next 6 months or something?
I don't know if it has
RFID.
RFID or what, but
I think passport cards do though, right?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so I've got one of those. When you apply for a passport, it's like, get your passport card. It's a North American ID. And it's funny because I tell people, did you know that there's a North American ID card? And they're like, what? You mean like an American? Like, no. Like, it's good for Canada, the U.S., and Mexico. It's an ID card that works in all 3 places.
Yeah, it's pass card, I think it's called.
So instead of
Yeah, I
having
got
a
it right here,
passport,
actually.
you have your identification card. But after the G20 this year, all the world leaders came together and saying that they need an international vaccine passport system that they're going to be implementing for the rest of the world.
Okay, are we clear now that COVID came and went, and now there's like less dangerous variants out there that people are just living with?
I don't think much has changed, honestly. It's just the propaganda, just the fear died down.
It's just how we treat it and how we're talking about it.
Like when it comes to doctors and nurses that I talked to, they're like, yeah, not much has changed except for the fear and propaganda.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.